Hello interwebs, welcome to the Adventures of Bacon Boy, and today we are going over energy expenditure. I touched about it in the last video. I will link that in the description for you guys to view. Specifically at the part where we were talking about how they were taking a program of young girls, putting them through an 8 or a 10-week cycle of strength training, and they measured their total energy expenditure, and it did not change from the beginning of the program to the end of the program. And to me, it should have changed, because if you increase your workout regimen, that total energy expenditure will change because of what it's made out of. And so it was a little odd, and it says it wasn't the full take. And so I'm going to expand on that today. To open it up, we're going to define what total energy expenditure is, or otherwise known as TEE. I'm going to use that to refer that as the rest of the video. Sorry, I'm shaking the table. A medical dictionary defines TEE as a metabolic unit for the sum of energy used by an organism. This unit is the sum of smaller units, such as resting energy expenditure, makes up 60% of the TEE, thermogenic effect of feeding, which makes up 10% of the EE, and then non-resting energy expenditure makes up the last 30% of TEE. That was a bit technical. I don't know if you fully understand what each of those parts are, so I found another source, the American College of Sports Medicine. They define it as 3 parts. The first part being basal metabolic rate. This is your basic energy needed for your basic functions. This is kind of like me just sitting in a chair making the video or watching TV, doing something like that. It's your normal day-to-day, everyday tasks. This is what makes up. Your second part is dietary induced thermogenesis, otherwise known as the thermogenic effect of food. This is the energy needed to digest and absorb food. So whatever you're eating has an effect on your body and actually burns calories. Maybe somebody you've heard that celery, it takes more calories to digest it than you actually get from it. Weird food things like that. I'll talk more about that later. Then the third part is the thermic effect of activity. This is your exercise. Exercise has a big part on whatever your total energy expenditure for today, because the important part is, depending on how active or inactive you are, it could range from 15% of your TEE to 80% of your TEE. It's a big change that it can do depending on how much you do. And so to go through this to understand how you can change it, because whatever you're going to do with your weight, whether to lose weight, to maintain your weight, or to gain weight, you're going to have to understand what your TEE, because this is half of the scale that you'll need. So in order to change your weight, you need 2 parts. Your calories in and your calories out. Your calories out has more than your calories in, you will lose weight. If it's the opposite, you take in more calories than you burn, you will gain weight. If they are equal, you will maintain weight. That's the simplest way you can do it. And half of the equation is your total energy expenditure, your calories out. I put it on this end, yeah. Your calories out. The amount of calories you burn is your total energy expenditure for the day. And so we're going to see how you can do this, how you can go through and measure your own way to see what you're totally burning through your everyday life, how many calories you're using, to either go through and change it, to lose weight, gain weight, do whatever you want. But you need this part of it. You need to understand this equation, total energy expenditure. You need to understand this in order to do anything really that's going to work for you to lose or maintain weight. So to calculate your BMR, we're starting from the top, your basic metabolic rate. To calculate it, you take 10 times your weight in kilograms, then you multiply it by 6.25 times your height in centimeters, then you do 5 times your age, and if you're a man, you add 5 to that number, and if you're a woman, you minus 161 from that number. It's kind of complex and crazy, so if you want, you can just use the BMI calculator. I put the links in the description. Go to myplate.com and go into their super tracker. This is like awesome. Great way to do it. I included another one to check out your TEE, and then I think I put in a third one just to do your BMR. I'm not sure. I'll put it in if I didn't. That's your basic metabolic rate. That can be affected by your job. So I think on the super tracker, when you're putting it in, you can put in how often you move with your job. So obviously somebody who's a construction worker is going to burn more calories than somebody who is a phone operator who just sits with the phone and presses little buttons. Doesn't take a lot of energy to do that versus somebody who's a construction worker lifting and moving objects. So things like that will have an effect on your BMR. Then food, second part, food. It's rather complex. I'm a personal trainer. I'm not a nutritionalist, so this is kind of out of my educational background. So if you do want more specifics, I would recommend seeing a nutritionalist. MyPlate.com actually works as a pretty good source. It's free, it's government, and it's government backed, government supported, but it's actually really good information. It's a really good way to track and change what you're eating. I do know, however, that protein has a higher thermogenetic effect than carbs or fats. That's probably why there's a giant protein craze and everybody wants to get their protein and everything's getting added protein, because protein does increases your body temperature during digestion, so which makes you lose weight, supposedly. But again, if you're overeating, it won't help you lose weight at all. If you're still overeating, no matter what you're eating, if carbs or proteins or fats, if you're overeating, and that's not very good. Last part, exercise. This is the biggest part. This is what you have the most change over, the most control over. And depending, like I said earlier, it can go from 15% to 80% of whatever your total TEE is for the day. This is where you have the most control to affect the amount of calories you burn in a day. This is your guys' opportunity to take control of your life. And so, cardio and aerobic exercises, they can affect not only your daily, the one when you work out that day, that your total energy expenditure for that day as well, but they can gradually change your BMR over time because of the way your body adapts to regular cardiovascular exercise. Your body adapts to that in a way that can actually change your BMR over time. It's very interesting. If you guys want, I could do a video on that another day. Strength training as well. Strength training has an effect both on your single day, that day, total energy expenditure. It doesn't have as much of the long-lasting effect on your BMR as cardiovascular and aerobic exercise does, but it can do a lot to help as well. If you want to know more about how much whatever exercise you're doing can affect your TEE, I've included what's called the Compendium of Physical Activity. This lists practically every single exercise that you possibly think of that will burn some amount of calories. It's mostly done with cardiovascular exercises and aerobic exercise activities. It has a little bit of strength training stuff in there, but it's mostly for aerobic activities. But again, it includes the metabolic equivalents, METs, of how whatever intensity you're doing it at. It's everything from swimming and walking to hiking and backpacking. It's a whole lot. I haven't looked through the entirety of it because it's kind of a big thing to read, but I do know a couple of the things by heart and whatnot. Because it goes into METs, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of what a MET is before. A MET is known as a metabolic equivalent, or a metabolic equivalent of a task, but essentially it's the amount of calories burned per kilo of body weight per minute. Some people might say hours, but a minute is more accurate. And so if you're at 9 METs, you're burning 9 calories per kilo per minute. If you're doing that activity for 50 minutes to half an hour, you're burning 9 times your body weight in kilos times 30. That's how many calories you burned in whatever workout you're doing. So that's why the Compendium of Physical Activity is a good way to help you understand exactly how you're doing. But again, the Super Tracker, I'm highly recommending kind of pushing towards that MyPlate Super Tracker because it tracks all of it for you. You don't have to worry about putting in all of the numbers and calculating yourself. You literally fill in a couple bubbles, you tell them what you did, you tell them how long you did, and you tell them your age, your weight, and whatnot to calculate your BMR, and it gives you back your TEE for the day. It's done. It's good. It's simple. It's golden. You can even put in your food. You can go through and track your food on it, type in what you've eaten in the day, and it'll spit back at you how many calories you've used, as well as the thermogenic effect of food is a play part and puts into your TEE. And it can tell you if you're going to gain weight, if you maintain that, or if you're going to lose weight. You can also create a profile on there, and you can track your progress over time. This is really great if you want to have a long-term goal. Even if it's a short-term goal, a couple weeks or whatnot, you can go for a couple months on here. It's a really good tracker. I highly recommend it. It's a great resource. They do have another thing for your iPhone users. If you guys are those, you can get an app called MyPal or MyFitnessPal. I use that for a little bit. It's really convenient because while you're shopping, you can literally just take pictures of the barcodes, and it will take that item and keep it stored in its database, and then you just tell them when you eat it. Tell the app when you eat it, and it will get all the calculate all the calories you've consumed from it for you. It's a little bit more convenient than having to sit through at your own computer and use it. I think you can use MyPlate on mobile. I haven't tried. I've just done it on my laptop. So I don't know how well mobile users can use it. If you can, go ahead and try it. Do it that way, probably more convenient. It's a pretty short video. It's kind of easy to see what's going on. It's everything you need to know really quickly in order to affect how you're changing your weight. And this, you need to use this information if you want to actually see results. If you go out there and you just kind of willy-nilly just kind of half-ass it and just start walking a little bit more, yeah, you'll see some changes, but it really cause big changes, and to get those results you actually want, you need to be able to keep track. You need to be able to keep a little bit more rigid schedule, be a little bit harder on yourself, and a little bit more on top of keeping track of things. And especially understanding your total energy expenditure for the day, because this is the amount of calories you burn on a regular basis. And so calories in versus calories out, that scale, that is going to be your biggest thing. If you understand what the scale is and you can affect the scale, you will change your weight. I guarantee it. So I hope I helped you out. Again, all the links are in the description. Check it out. If you enjoyed this, like, subscribe, and all that jazz. Other than that, have a good day.